the Bulldog, the biblical alternative shirt, but the collar's on because I'm still a pastor. And I want you to know that this is a serious study as we look at the Word of God. Basics of the Faith, week number 2. I want to take you through the classical method of defense. First of all, that's the first thing that I want to go through before we get into the study of man. And let's deal with premise A first. The first premise, that the Bible basically is a reliable and trustworthy document. I want to hold up this great book again and just reiterate to you again that this is a most trustworthy book, just like any other book that you might study with science, mathematics, history. You can trust in this book. So premise number 1 is that it's reliable and trustworthy. Premise number B, the next premise, is that on the basis of the Bible being a reliable document, we have sufficient evidence to believe confidently that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. Since it is a document that can be trusted, and in that particular document it's telling you about Jesus Christ, then quite naturally He is the Son of God. We can depend upon that to be true. Premise number C is that Jesus Christ, being the Son of God, is an infallible in authority, that is. He is an infallible authority. His words are authoritative. The miracles that He did are authoritative. His commands are authoritative. And it is expected of us as Christians to follow it. In other words, it's not an option whether we can follow Christ or not. There's a lot of Christians that's living like that, and they're living with, I think that they have an option whether they want to follow Him or not. No, we don't have that option. We have to follow Him. That's what premise number C is. As the Son of God, He is an infallible authority. Premise number D, Jesus Christ teaches that the Bible is more than generally trustworthy, rather that it is the very Word of God. You have to understand that. And not only am I to trust the Bible, and that it's trustworthy for me to trust it, but that the Bible is basically the very Word of God itself. It is God speaking to us. Back in the past, the ancient theologues believed it. Martin Luther believed it, the great reformer, and so did John Calvin, the great reformer. And we are to believe those very same Bible truths. It is the very Word of God. Premise number E, that the Word, in that it comes from God, is utterly trustworthy because God is utterly trustworthy. Why do we believe this? The Word is trustworthy as the Bible because God is. God would not be untrustworthy, if you would like to put it that way. And so we believe that as the teaching. So the conclusion is, on the basis of the infallible authority of Jesus Christ, the church believes the Bible to be utterly trustworthy, therefore infallible. You can't break it. It will not contradict itself anywhere. We can trust it. We can depend upon it. We can rely upon the Word of God to do its work in our lives. And that's what we believe. Now, let's come into our second session, which is the study of man. I'm a man. I'm standing here right in front of you, gaining a little weight right here in the tummy right now. I can't help that. But I am a man such as I am. And the inevitable question is that you are Homo sapien also. But what are you? What's your makeup all about? What makes you a man? And then we're going to look at how we as men are, let's say, how we're weighed upon or judged these days. What is the criterion which develops the idea that we are human beings? What makes us human beings? Where are we going to spend eternity? How did we get here? What is the origin of the nature of our first being here? Well, you have your outline right there before you, and I'm going to give you the fill-ins on this. First of all, there are two main options. Two main options for persons today concerning the question of man's origin. There's only two, not three, only two. And we're going to look into these two main options. And we're going to see how these two main options have so governed man and his ability to reconcile his life in this world. The first option is evolution. Evolution, that's your fill-in on the fill-in sheet. This is the doctrine of Charles Darwin, and his belief was made very popular, and it has also been made very popular through New Age thought. And the second option is creation. Creation, which begins in the Genesis account when it says, in the beginning, God. So, number one on your outline is evolution. Number two on your outline is creation. Evolution, the doctrine of Charles Darwin, and this belief was made popular through his study of man, and we see New Age implications in this evolutionary process and this thought. And of course, the second option again is creation, which begins with the book of Genesis, Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Those are the only two options. Now let's start with the definition of these particular options. And of course, number one, the definition of evolution. Evolution would be defined in this way: that something in the past, through the process of natural selection, has taken place, which resulted in man and the universe coming into being. One would call it, so to say, a spark of energy. I like it the way they taught me when I was in school. And when I was in school, they taught me that this would happen. You had a big object flying here, somewhere out in the universe, and another object flying here, way out in the universe. And these two objects came together, and as they came together, they collided and exploded, and this massive universe and everything that we have is a result of this process of evolution. In other words, something in the past, through the process of natural selection, this resulted in man and the universe and being. I call it a spark of energy, a zapping effect. This is what they believe. And of course, evolution is that over